In my last ultra, I was surprised to find out that the bit of me that hurt the most was my lower abs and groin. This taught me that I'm weak here, and on reflection, I haven't been spending enough time training it. I always say that pain is the best teacher, and this pain sent me on a journey to find some good exercises for the anterior hip. At the end of the video, I'll explain how I fit these exercises into my week, because I obviously don't dedicate a whole day to just training my anterior hips, so I filter them into the week, and I will also share an exercise that I'm not currently doing but I think could be one of the best hip flexor exercises of all time. It involves some kit that I have shipping from America as we speak, but I will make a dedicated video all about that. I wanted today's video to be accessible to everyone with little or no equipment. So let's get into it. First up, I don't really have a name for it. I'm calling it a standing single leg overhead reach. In this, we're going to put the emphasis on the back leg. You can start with putting your front leg on a box or a bench, but have most of your weight on the back leg. Whichever leg is the back leg, you're going to take that same side hand and reach up and back. By reaching up and back, we're driving that hip into extension. And then if we take that movement slowly, the hip flexors, the upper quads, the adductors, they're having to decelerate and stabilize that movement. You can add load here either by putting a small weight in the reaching hand, or you can take the front foot off and use the knee as a driver, driving a little bit more speed and explosiveness into that movement. Next up, we have a slight variation on the Copenhagen plank. The Copenhagen plank is a fantastic and really tough exercise that targets the adductors. I'm going to use a slight variation on it, and we can also add regressions and progressions to it. The slight variation I like to use is that some people say you shouldn't do this, but I like to drop the pelvis. A true Copenhagen plank talks about keeping the body fairly neutral and using the bottom leg to abduct and adduct. I like to actually drop the pelvis, because what this does is it puts the emphasis on the top leg, and we're going to then, as we drop the pelvis, be taking that top hip into abduction, but it's the adductors that are decelerating and controlling that abduction, and then they're working concentrically to pull our pelvis back up to the starting position. You can regress this movement just by starting with your knee on the bench or the chair. The bottom knee can be bent if you need to, because that reduces the load as well. You can start with an isometric hold, so rather than actually move the pelvis at all, you can just stay still, and then gradually, as you want to get stronger, you bring in the movement of the pelvis, and then you progress to the foot rather than the knee on the bench. Then we have the hanging leg raise. This is many a person's favorite ab exercise of all time. Very tough, so I like to do as many reps as I can with my legs relatively straight. You can see I don't get my legs completely straight, which is partly a strength issue, partly a flexibility issue. And then as I start to gas out, I go to knee tucks, and then as I gas from that, you can just do knee tuck holds. I like to really nail my abs and my hip flexors with this exercise, so I go through these series of, like doing a drop set. I go from the straight leg to the knee tucks to the knee holds all in one set. Then there's a really simple sitting L sit. I tend to do this one-legged, and I give myself a target, so I'll take my foot over a kettlebell or a foam roller or something and just do as many reps as I need to until my hips get very tired. The focus with this is to have control, so you're really trying to have control through all elements of the movement. You're not trying to let your leg drop and drop quickly at any point. Because we're in a very flexed position, this isn't training the stabilization of the pelvis and that hip extension, but it is very good for waking up the proprioception, that your brain's awareness of those muscles, because you can do such high reps and you can really get a good burn in those muscles. I do find this helps give me better awareness of the fronts of my hips. Now, the best exercise I'm not doing is using a monkey foot. I've only discovered these recently, or a better way of saying that is I knew about this device, but it was just in the back of my mind, and it's only recently, since I've been learning about hip flexors, that it keeps popping up on my feed, and I really think I need to get one. I'm going to do a whole video dedicated to the monkey foot, because there are actually lots of exercises you can do to help you as a runner, but for now, just trust that there's probably some better exercises that I haven't even put in this video, but they do require a bit of kit. So how do I fit all these exercises into my week? Well, the standing single leg overhead reach, I actually just do in my warm-ups for basically anything. I can do it as a warm-up before going for a run, but I don't often do that, I'll be honest. But I do it before my warm-ups for either my strength day or my plyometric day. Same with the Copenhagen, I'll throw that into my warm-ups and just jump on a bench, do a few reps each side. This is not a heavy exercise that I really want to gas myself out with, but I do want to wake up my adductors pretty much every time I strength train, which for me is 2 times a week. The hanging leg raise, I throw into my head heavy strength day, which is the one I do once a week, and in the gym that I go to, they've got a pull-up bar, so that's where I do it there. And then, as I alluded to earlier, the sitting L-sit, I just do watching telly and try and do that most days, just sitting on the floor, and that just keeps my hips awake. Since doing this whole collection of exercises, my hips have felt a lot stronger, and my running posture feels improved as well. So I'm intrigued to see how this feels in my next ultra, and I think it's going to be particularly important because I'm doing a mountain ultra, so I'm going to be doing lots of steep ups, going to have to drive my knees up those hills. For this one might take me up to 24 hours, so I'm going to have strong hips so that I don't break. If you want to see how these exercises fit alongside my running plan, then have a watch of this video here, and until next time, happy training.